I got lucky. I don't belong here. I feel unqualified for my job. I had a lot of luck and connections to get where I am in my career. I am a fraud and it's just a matter of time before everyone finds out. Sounds familiar? Right. That's because most of us have experienced feelings of doubt and unworthiness at some point in our lives. And when your accomplishments are the result of your own knowledge, hard work and preparation, and you still feel inadequate, then my friends, you are probably suffering from imposter syndrome. Welcome to the channel, my fellow humans from planet Earth. Today we will be discussing about what is imposter syndrome, who experiences it, what are the symptoms that suggest a person is suffering from imposter syndrome, and finally we will see some strategies to deal with it. So without much ado, let's dive straight in. First up, what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is the overwhelming feeling that you don't deserve your success. You basically become convinced that you are not as intelligent, creative or talented as you may seem. It's the feeling that everyone else knows exactly what they are doing. You have this fear that people around you are going to figure out that you don't know what you are talking about and expose you as a fraud. The worst part about imposter syndrome is it can easily turn into a cycle with seriously negative consequences. Well, now that you have an understanding on what imposter syndrome is, let's see who experiences imposter syndrome. It can happen to anyone. It does not matter who you are, whether you are an entrepreneur or an employee with a 9-to-5 job at some company, a student or a content creator, we all can potentially suffer from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is typically associated with high achievers. So if you feel like a fraud, the chances are that you are more capable than you think you are. Real frauds don't worry about things like this. In fact, according to a research, nearly 62% of knowledge workers worldwide reported experiencing imposter syndrome. Now, let's look at some symptoms of imposter syndrome. At work, people with imposter mindset often attribute their success to luck rather than their own abilities and work ethic, which could hold them back from asking for a raise or applying for a promotion. They might also feel like they have to overwork themselves to achieve the impossibly high standards they have set. At home, any parent can probably remember a point in time when they felt clueless, incapable, and totally unprepared for the responsibility of raising a child. If these feelings go unchecked, parents could struggle to make decisions for their child out of fear they are going to mess up their lives. At school, students might avoid speaking up in class or asking questions for fear that teachers or classmates might think they are clueless. In relationships, some people feel unworthy of the affection they get from a significant other and fear their partner will discover they are not actually that great. Sometimes people self-sabotage that relationship and end it before the other person can. If you are experiencing any of those symptoms, don't worry, because the next section will potentially be helpful as we talk about some strategies to overcome imposter syndrome. First up, focus on facts. Imposter syndrome makes you feel like you aren't good at your job. But oftentimes, these feelings are based on fear, not reality. The best way to fight imposter syndrome is to separate your feelings from the facts. Basically, you can consider this as facts versus stories. Facts are observable truths, things like a video camera picks up on. Stories are how you interpret those facts. You can't keep your brain from creating stories, but you can center yourself around the facts. The next time you are in a situation that makes you feel like an imposter, refer back to facts versus stories of the situation. For example, if you felt bad after speaking up in, say, a team meeting, focus on what your team members actually said. Next, acknowledge, validate, and then let go. Just because your interpretations of an event are stories rather than facts doesn't mean your feelings are any less valid. Combating imposter syndrome isn't about ignoring your emotions. Rather, the best way to fight this feeling is to acknowledge that you are feeling poorly. Validate that it's okay, and then let those feelings go if they aren't based on reality. Next, understand your strengths and weaknesses. Build up your confidence by becoming more aware of your strengths and weaknesses. Conduct a personal SWOT analysis to discover what you are best at and to think about how you can minimize your weaknesses. Once you have a deeper understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, you won't have to spend so much time worrying that you are not qualified for certain tasks, projects, or roles. Develop a support network of people who motivate you and who you can trust to help you counter your negative inner critic. Next, overcome perfectionism. Overcome perfectionist habits by focusing on the bigger picture. Learn how to set yourself realistic and achievable goals. You can watch one of my videos here where I cover how to achieve goals. Now, at the same time, remember that mistakes are a part of life and that if you don't hit a particular goal or get something in one time, it's not the end of the world. In fact, mistakes demonstrate that you are not afraid to take risks and push yourself to try new things. Instead of seeing your mistakes as things to be ashamed of, treat them as learning experiences that will help you to perform even better the next time. Next, know you are not alone. When you have imposter syndrome, some of the most important encouragement comes from realizing how many hugely successful people, both males and females, have built amazing careers even while regularly coping with it. Author Maya Angelou says, "I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh, they are going to find out now. I have run a game on everybody and they are going to find me out." So whenever you find yourself suffering from imposter syndrome, remind yourself that you cannot ever be a person who knows it all, and neither the people around you know it all. You do not really have to be a guru. You can instead just be a guide. Like right now, I myself sometimes suffer from this syndrome, and I am still trying to teach you all how to deal with it. I'm not claiming that I am an expert on this topic, but just trying to guide you all with things which worked for me and may potentially work for someone out there in the world. Now, if you found this video helpful, you may like this video here which talks about the habits that may destroy your self-confidence. Hopefully, we'll see you again in the next video. Until then, adios fellow humans.